Welcome to the Sunday Symposium. We're Still Here, presented by Native Roots Radio Network. This is a Native conversation of where we've been and where we're going.
Hello, everybody watching. This is your reminder that if you like Native Roots Radio and you'd like to support what you're doing, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Native Roots Radio Network to give what you can. Miigwech.
Ahu, Ho-Trunk Raja, Wakunja Hade, Hingadena. Greetings, my friends and relatives here. We are having a special show tonight. We want to speak our truth about what's happening up in the deep north in Minnesota. And we are here. The show is No Line 3. And we have Winona LaDuke leading us off here. And we want Winona to speak her truth. And we want to get the show going. Welcome, Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth.
Thanks. Bushu, and Dinaway Muganatuk. So I'm up here on the banks of the Mississippi River. I am a Chippewa of the Mississippi. That's my legal designation under the law. And as you know, we have a lodge here that we put up. We put up for our prayers and our ceremonies. And that lodge is a beautiful, place where we've had our ceremonies. This week, Enbridge started construction and began to rip the trees apart and make a traction to our lodge. And so I was in the lodge and then Don Goodwin had come to visit. Tanya Abed and myself have been in this lodge, and what happened? They came towards us, but Enbridge is required to have a cultural resources person on site to show the good faith that they have in cutting through the heartland of Anishinaabe territory, and there was no demarcation of our lodge. I came back this week and I see that they're coming towards our lodge. There's no mark. There's a stake in the middle of the lodge that says the line is here. So I sat there prayer, and then I was informed the DNR was going to create an exclusive zone. And the exclusive zone would be a zone I was told that normal people would be excluded from. And so I asked who normal people were. There wasn't a clear legal designation for normal. But I said, what about Anishinaabe women who have lodges on the Mississippi River in your exclusion zone? Are we normal? And that wasn't clear. But as I sat in my lodge, they posted this exclusion zone on Saturday. And then they told me and the other people who were there was a nice collection of, Anishinaabe women mostly who had come to visit. They said that they would be subject to arrest. And as I was about to be charged, they walked me out. About 7 DNR officers, all heavily armed, walked me out. And when they walked me out, then I was told that I actually would not have to go to jail, that I received a citation. So I received a citation for violation of a law, an ordinance that was enacted on Friday, which listed my lodge as inside an exclusionary zone. But Enbridge, who has had 7 years to prepare for the process of going roughshod across our state and required a cultural resources monitor, is not cited, it seems, for violating the terms of their permit by pushing ahead and being it. So we've now asked Enbridge. They have termed that this is called a unanticipated discovery, our lodge, and they told us they're sending their cultural person out to see, and the person be there at 8 a.m. They were not there, and now I believe the state historic preservation officer is coming on Monday. I want to go pray in my lodge. I want to be in my lodge. I don't want to get arrested. And so that's kind of the update. We're asking people to come and pray at the river at the Mississippi at 10 o'clock. Any day. You could come any day to pray on the public lands of the state of Minnesota and the Anishinaabe territory. I am hoping to not get arrested tomorrow. But there have been, several arrests up here, but I was charged on Saturday with trespassing in my own lodge.
Yeah, Winona, Gigi for all you do. I was up there. It's just a disgrace how close it is to the Mississippi River. Um, I am sickening and sick of what's happening here, and I hope people are hearing your message and feeling the same way. How can we support the water warriors up there? We need to go up there. What else do we need to do, Winona?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of other things, as we said. Yes, come and pray. That is a good thing. Also, put pressure that the state that they should not be able to proceed until they have a full assessment of what the site is. But then, more than that, I mean, just looking at these other bigger pictures. I mean, there are 3 ICU beds in Aiken County. There are 3 ICU beds in Hubbard County. This is a significant health risk to our people up here, and is being pushed ahead, and so continue to push on the health dangers of this site, very significant. And then I just keep thinking, I don't know how else to think, but I feel like that Trump has the wall and Waltz has the pipe. I mean, these are crazy infrastructure projects that nobody wants.
Exactly. House Representative and elect Senator Mary Kunesh was up there with me Friday. Mary, what can you say about what you saw and all the great work that Winona's doing up there, and Nancy and all those warriors? You're on mute.
There we go. So what I thought was going to be just a basic tour and a little bit of background information from Winona turned into a walk down the street, about a block down the street from the cabin that we were at, to see what was actually happening. We could hear through the silence of the woods this droning sound, this machinery noise that just sort of shook the ground as all these big pieces of machinery were moving up and down the roads, as well as out in the woods. And as we walked down to the site that they had begun the work on, it was lined with trucks and big vehicles and vehicles without Minnesota license plates on it. So we know that a lot of the maybe the workers that are there, one of the biggest deals was that this was going to be jobs for our Minnesota union people. But we saw a lot of out of town license plates there, and we don't know that it's really Minnesota folks that are gainfully employed. But nonetheless, as we got closer, it was just sort of one of those horrific, almost sci-fi scenes as you see this huge machine, like 3 stories high, with this extremely long arm and this big yellow claw at the end, just literally reaching out, pulling these ancient trees, new and ancient trees, some trees that have probably been there decades, just pulling them out of the ground like somebody pulling the carrots out of the ground, and then slicing them off and loading them up, piling them up to the side. And I had such a visceral reaction. I can't even tell you, that sinking feeling, that feeling in your chest when you just know that something not right is happening. And it was heartbreaking, literally heartbreaking at that point. And just to see this huge machine crawling through, the ancient forest, the wetlands that are there, and disturbing the silence, the solitude of those woods, all the way down to the beautiful Mississippi River. The whole way up, I drove alongside of the Mississippi River and saw, wander in and out, and just beautiful country. and to have this marred and scarred the way that it did, it was hard to see. It really was hard to see. And when Winona took us down to her wigwam, to her prayer site, you know, you could tell that this was a sacred spot. This was an important spot, not just for her, but for other that have gone there to pray and spend their day. And so I have to tell you, it was very impactful to me. And I have spoken with other representatives at the Capitol. There are a number of us legislators, both in the House and the Senate, that are opposed to Line 3. We met with the governor this week. We all voiced our dismay and objection to the pipeline. Not only, you know, that this is a country, you know, a different country running its pipelines through Minnesota with no gain for Minnesota, really, other than, of course, they're saying the taxes, the people that are making the money. But this is, you know, it's like Winona says, the black snake running through our state. And we all know that eventually those pipelines are going to leak, they're going to crack, they're going to spew. What is it, 22 times it crosses the Mississippi River? I think it's so important that people realize that our drinking water, Mississippi River drinking water, is at stake here. And so, again, what I thought was going to be a lovely drive up to see Winona and to see some of the sites where they're storing the supplies turned into, you know, a scene that I can't forget. And so, very disappointed that stay that Red Lake and White Earth requested was not honored. If we are going to recognize the sovereignty and the partnership of our tribes, then I think it was very important, and it would have sent an incredible message to our Native community if our state were to have honored that request for a stay of action, both by White Earth and Red Lake. And again, another disappointment.
Wow, Winona, it was amazing to go up there and see people trickle in there. We need people to come up and help you. Our brother Henry over here was here, and I'd like to bring Henry on, and he came all the way from what was it, Moorhead or Fargo, Henry? It was really great to meet you, and turn your mute off and speak your truth.
Yep. All right. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can you hear me? All right. Yes, I was a little late. I wanted to walk up there with you guys. We had a little issues right before we hit the road. As soon as I got the word through social media, I seen the other water protectors in the trees. But before that, I seen the water protectors with the machinery locking themselves to the machines to delay construction, even for a moment. Every moment matters when it comes to these things. Every hour costs the Enbridge more money, regardless of how big it is or how huge it is. So, or how small. When I see those images, it was something inside of me that I knew that I had to be there, that I had to make my way there in any which way. And it was just like it was Mother Earth talking. It was the universe, and Heather reached out to me and she asked me to come with her. She wasn't able to come because of last minute childcare issues. But I came, and so I came, and I was a little late, but I feel me being late was also another aspect of what was going on that day. So me walking up and introducing myself and meeting everybody in my presence the way I am also put a stance down with the law enforcement, the sheriff, who was the sheriff right there that was there that day, to let him know that there is not just these folks out here. This is an issue. This is a bigger issue than just some local thing that's going on with the wildlife. You know what I mean? I've had my own actions many a times. I'm out here doing everything that I can to fight for justice, taking on the law enforcement to understand my rights as an individual on this earth, and to exert those rights, right? That's the main thing that we have to understand, is that my actions this whole summer since George Floyd happened, every action that I've ever done, that I've organized, that I've been a part of, it seems like the broader public thinks that protesting or sticking up for your rights is against the law, and it's not. So that has to be a message that is brought out to the public, that we need to make sure that that information is that this is who we are. This is what we have to do sometimes. And if you feel like if you feel like there's something wrong going on and you're able to do something, you need to do it. You need to try in every sense of your heart that you need to do it. You got to try. You got to show up. And that's why I want to make sure that the things I say, the things that I post on social media are not just for the surface. This runs deep in my DNA.
Oh,
Same with that river. Same with the water. Those are the veins of Mother Earth, and they don't understand that. I had the honor of meeting you, Robert, there. I had the honor of meeting everybody there, I believe, right? Winona, everybody that was there, I met you, and it was an honor to meet all of you. I look up to you guys all, and I'm here for every aspect that's needed. I'm pushing the word out. I'm always there to sacrifice. And that's one of the main words, that's one of the main terms that I use, is sacrifice.
Tina Gigi for being on. See, I want to get back to Winona. Winona, let's talk a little to Gayleen and see what's happening with her. Will you take it from here, Winona?
Yeah, Gayleen lives up here in Palisade.
I'm a local. I'm a local, and they're invading my space here.
Please tell us about I was so happy to get to hang out with you and your beautiful children this weekend. You know, that's one of the things. This is also about a lot of local people and a lot of kids and a lot of artists. I know, Gayleen, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking about this up here, you know?
Well, the last time I was on the radio show, I was running as a candidate for Minnesota House. That didn't work out for me. So then my niece, who Winona has staying at the property up there, Shania has been like, Gayleen, you got to come up. Gayleen, you got to come up. So I finally got to spend some time up there this weekend. And believe me, it was an eye-opener for me. Winona, I had met years ago and was great to renew that friendship that we had years ago. And what I saw up there, and what my kiddos saw, because I have my sibling group of 4, 12 and under, just what they saw and what they did and the impact that they made there was worth every minute of going out of my way to spend time up there. And I almost feel like I want to just stay up there, because we could all help so much. But guess what? We have life, we have school, we have full-time job. So I'll try and spend as much time as I can up there. But the kids started out the day just making some homemade instruments, because we wanted to go up and see the tree people. So they made the instruments. We walked up through the woods. They made like little stakes with messages on them. And that was like the greatest opportunity for those kids to see, because they couldn't believe that there were people living in the trees. And the machinery raping that forest as quickly as it was sickening to me. And the kids also, I mean, just some of the comments on the way home. We really had fun, but what they're doing to that land is really sad. And they asked me why. Why are they doing that? I said, well, because in other countries, there's a company called Enbridge that owns it. They're going to run their pipes through our land. They're going to destroy our forests. They're going to take away the homes of the animals. And we will not benefit at all. Because what I saw up there yesterday were logging trucks. I didn't see any of our local logger truck signs on any of those doors of those trucks. And all of the vehicles that were at the work site, they didn't have Minnesota plates on them. So all of these promises, I feel there are a bunch of promises that aren't going to happen. So we went back up there again today. But you know what? To me, that space is a peaceful space with a lot of people who care. They care about trying to put an end to something that isn't going to benefit any of us. The only benefit we're going to get out of it is the damage that it will cause to our land and our earth and our water. It was just, the last couple days have been really painful to watch. And I got some calls this morning and they're asking me, what can we do? Can we send money? I said, money is the root of all evil. This is what are lining these locals' pockets that sold their land, so they're great. They love it. But I know they don't understand the true damage that this is going to cause to this community. We have a stay-at-home order. Okay. We got all these people coming from other states. We don't know what they're bringing in here. And where's the care for that? You want us all to stay home? You want us all to wear masks? But you don't care that there's hundreds of men from who knows where coming in here? That I have issue with. To me, the government is proving again that Native peoples don't matter. It's our treaties being stomped on. They don't care. And that's why when people call me, I said, we have to just talk to the people that are in charge making these decisions. But it was an eye-opener.
Yeah,
Unfortunate eye-opener.
absolutely. What a day we had. I want to bring Nancy Bolio on of Bemidji 350 and talk a little bit about what happened. Nancy, welcome tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Nancy Boleo, Leech Lake, and I work for Minnesota 350, and I'm a co-founder for Rise Coalition. And on Friday, a call for help was made. And so, like the word sacrifice was mentioned earlier, is we have to find the time to show up in person, because what we've seen on Friday, like Mary said, we thought we were going to take a little field trip and see a few things, but we heard and seen things that were really, really disheartening. And we knew, in that moment, we had to do something more. And we just had the right people there on Friday, and prayer and strong hearts actually held that work back that day. And it wasn't something we anticipated to happen. It was just our calling, I guess. And I appreciate the invite to be, in the area that day, and I intend to go back as needed. And so what I do know is that I have to be ready and go as needed. And we need people to the front line. Money's important. Yes, it takes money to organize people, but it doesn't mean nothing if we don't have more people there. So what we have to defend is our right to our prayer, our right to our treaties. And you know what Governor Walz in his 1924 executive order is that government to government relationship. And with White Earth and Red Lake opposing this line and not having their day in court or even their stay, it's really discouraging. And Walz has failed us. He's failed Indian country, period. And, you know, to run and hide is a sign of a coward. And I hate to throw that out there, but he owes us the conversation. And so I'm going to ask all the people that are listening is if you can make the sacrifice, please show up, because there's so many different work areas along line 3 that there's going to be a lot of people needed to cover all that territory, and we can't do it alone here in northern Minnesota. There's hundreds of miles of pipeline, and you know, maybe Walson and the PUC need to look up the Webster dictionary, because this is not a replacement project, it's a relocation, and there is a big difference between the two. And you would think the simple little terminology in these legal contracts would be challenged, but I don't know, it doesn't matter, because like someone mentioned before, our words continue to fall on deaf ears, and this is another act of genocide 2020. So anyways, I just, you know, have a little sign here that I painted this weekend. I'm going to bring that with, I don't know. Sometimes I just get a little energy and I have to spend it because I'm sitting here at home, COVID. And again, you know, show up, bring your mask, and make sure that you're social distancing yourself. And we can show up safely and we can protect each other. And overall, if we don't protect that water, we don't even have a way to protect ourselves against COVID. So we got to think about the big picture here. And so, again, if you could show up, please follow, you know, Honor the Earth, Rise Coalition, Ginyu Collective. We got Tasha Martineau from Gitchigumi Scouts. There's so many different fronts here. And, you know, just reach out, throw us some money in a good way. And most importantly, bring your bodies. We need them. And come stand in prayer. Would
you mind introducing to Shayla, please, and this young warrior?
Tasha Martineau. She's a co-founder of Gitchigumi Scouts, and she is a Two-Spirit activist, and she is a member, or I should say a citizen, or Ogichi-Da from Fond du Lac. Welcome, Tasha.
Bonjour, Dabiki Giza Skijikwe, Nindijikas Nagachiwanang, Indunjiba, Magizi Dodam. My name is Tasha Martineau. I'm a Two-Spirit Indigenous rights activist from the Fond du Lac Reservation. And I'm just so happy to be here again with all of you amazing people and warriors. And I just want to share a little bit about something that's happened recently here on the Fond du Lac Reservation. There are multiple points where the pipeline is being built, where they're laying the wetland matting for these pipelines. And the first time that I drove past all of these workers, I realized that all of these trucks were from like Texas, Indiana, and Utah. And I was driving with my children, and I wasn't going to really do anything, just note that they were there and keep an eye on it. But my oldest daughter, who is now 8 years old, she turned to me and she was like, "You have to stop them. You have to stop them." And I was like, "No, I'm driving here." I was like, "We need to get home." But she was just really adamant about me stopping them. And so you can see on my Facebook there, I believe it's public, where I did jump out of the car and I live streamed. And I was really angry because, you know, my daughter was scared. I promised my daughter I would stop line 3, and then we're driving through a construction zone and she's seeing all these white trucks, you know. So for me, that was all of that emotion that you hear in my voice in that video. That's because these workers have wandered too close to my den, and this is my home. And so immediately I asked every worker I seen, "Have you completed the cultural competency to be working on line 3? No one said anything, and it was just me. No one said anything. They all jumped into their trucks, packed up, and left. Like, it took a while for all of them to get in their trucks. And as I'm walking up and down the line, you can hear me just yelling at these workers, asking them, "Have you completed the cultural competency to work on line 3? Have you completed the sex trafficking course?" And these are questions that we have the right to ask these workers. And None of them answered me. They're not allowed to talk to protesters. They're not allowed to interact in any way. All of them got into their trucks, and within 5 minutes, they just left. And it was like, all it took was one person getting near the easement for them to get into the trucks, and they left for the day. We went back 2 hours later, and they were still gone. So all it took was one person asking these questions, demanding these answers, for them to just get up and leave. And in the video, you know, I yelled at them. I said to them, I was like, I'll be back tomorrow and I'll be bringing friends. And I wasn't sure how many people would respond. And then I get emotional because for years, I've been begging my community to wake up and remember who we are. And I remember this community fought so hard against the sandpiper, and now it's a community divided when it comes to the issue of Line 3. Well, a young woman reached out to me, and she wanted to pray. She didn't want to protest. She didn't want to show up with signs and banners. She just wanted to pray, you know. And so I reached out to my friends, and I said, you know, there's these young Indigenous women who just want to come here and pray. And so I remember walking onto the easement, and she was just playing on her hand drum and singing, and every hair on my body was just standing up because, you know, I needed that. I needed that renewal of spirit. I needed them prayers, and the land needed that. And as we got to the easement, on the other side were all these warriors. I believe GNU, Northfield Against Line 3, there was about 50 people, and they took up in a circle around us. Us here, the Indigenous women, we were sitting there and we were praying, and there was 50 water warriors surrounding us, and they weren't there to protest, you know, they were there to do what they promised to do. They were there to protect the sacred. They were there to, you know, defend our treaty rights to be able to gather there and be able to pray. And it was just such a beautiful experience, and it was so moving. Like, I've never seen anything or felt anything like that before, but it was absolutely amazing.
That's beautiful, Pinigigi, for all your work. You know, Winona, do you mind introducing your dear friend, new city council member, and have a few words, Winona? You know who I'm talking about. It starts with the A and ends with the Dre, Audrey. All right, I'm gonna
I'm
unmute you.
happy to introduce my friend Audrey. The more and more youthful each time I see her, Audrey, who is taking up her new challenges for the people and the Northland. I'm so happy that you are on city council, and you know, I like these challenges that understand that multiracial democracies look like this. So it's just awesome. Hey, Audrey, how's it going up there?
Well, miigwech, Winona, and I will try to get down right after finals. I know that I heard the call from Nancy, but I don't have substitutes where I teach, so I've got to make sure that I finish out the finals, and I'll be over that way to pray on at 10 a.m. So today I did talk to two of my friends whose husbands are working on the Imbridge. They're from Leech Lake. And I wanted to have a bridge with them. And I didn't want to get into their space. I wanted to talk to them about the importance of water in our friendship and our relationships of many years. And I knew they were down on the sites. So that was important for me because bridging is important for relationship building. Do I approve of this? Of course not. But, you know, we have family, they have families that they're supporting, large families, you know, and there's one working and supporting, and it does jeopardize everything we're doing. But I didn't want to break that relationship. So now I'm going to ask those who are in northern Minnesota, you know, this is the time. In the early morning hours, I scan on, so, you know, I should say troll on social media, but I see what people are doing. Okay. And they're scared. It's COVID. They're fearful. They're posting numbers. they're talking about, they're spending a lot of time out in the lake. So now that we're freezing over, they're getting ready for the holidays. Well, we are on day 6 that I have been sending emails to my legislators and to the governor asking him to stay. It's an easy process. You just go to their page, click in your name and your address, and you send your thoughts and your emails. My goal is to do that every single day. That way, at least I know that I'm being active. Writing an editorial. I see Minnesota Line 3 people putting editorials in the Bemidji Pioneer. We need to be flooding those local newspapers with editorials now. And we need to hear from you in community that would be necessarily someone they may not expect to hear from. So this is a time to step out. It is about our water. It is about everything that we all like and love up in northern Minnesota. I have to ask you, get on social media, call your legislators as well, leave messages. But we have to be active every single day in some manner. If you're not down there joining Winona, then please do those editorials, talk to your families, make it a topic of conversation. It is very important. And at 10 a.m., for those who are pipe carriers and you're not there, light those pipes and think about our water and our earth. And those individuals are coming. Now I hear the call. They want people there. That means we start coming. All right. So that, and don't expect to see a table laid out with goodies on it. Bring your food and bring warm clothes and bring your bedding and making sure that you are warm. We're walking right into a season of the winter till December 21st. It gets pretty cold after that. So this is how you can support right now. This is how we do this. So I would like to thank you and for the time. And Winona, keep healthy, keep warm. And I thank all of the activists who are now down there, our protectors. We are not protesters. We are protectors. We are protectors of our land, our critical, life-giving water. And this is important to all of us. Miguel.
Pinagigi, Audrey, and a great shirt, by the way. I want to say a couple things. When the owner of AM 950 was up in the deep north, all he heard was ads for Enbridge. And I think we need to get some people and get some money going here and blow up the ads up there and all those radio stations up there, because there's been so much misinformation going on. You know, I watched the hockey tournament and the basketball tournament, and I see butterflies and rainbows and Enbridge commercials. We need to get the truth out there. We need to do what we can do. Winona, what else can we do? And then do you mind introducing our new House representative when you after you tell us this, what we can do? We got Heather Keeler here, and why don't you give us a little what you feel like we can do and how we can get the word out there, and then introduce Heather, please.
Yeah, well, a couple things for the Native community here. I am asking, the State Historic Preservation Officer, should be up here to ensure that our lodge is protected. Enbridge should not be able to move ahead. They should stop their work on the Mississippi River until there's a conversation. Our TIPO, our Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, has asked for one. And so, Mary, all of you who have some influence, please ensure that there's no movement ahead until until these conversations are happening right here on the Mississippi. And then come up here, begin praying, and begin coming up here. Make no mistake about this. This is a taking of public lands for private corporation, and they are munching their way through the north, destroying things and leaving a mess for us. So be present. Look at stopline3.org. And push for things like a stay. We'd like our day in court. We should have a day in court. We should not, the tribes and the citizens of Minnesota should not be treated like third-class citizens to benefit a Canadian multinational. This is a bad plan. So I want to say that I didn't get a chance to see Heather. It's a long ways for her to travel, but fortunately, Heather, I don't know if it's fortunately or so, but you could just go to Park Rapids and see the pipeline there. It's 2 hours closer. This pipeline project is across the state. It's not built in the Greenland. So in the green territory, that treaty territory is what we really are trying to protect. So hoping I could see you soon in person, Heather, but Heather is newly elected in Moorhead, that shining bastion of cool people in northern Minnesota. Go Moorhead.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I feel like
we'll be there. Don't worry, we're still there.
Yeah. Well, and I'll come up. I just had some situations with daycare and stuff. But also, thanks for the shirt, Robert. I see Audrey's rocking her shirt too. I guess for me, I've always just cared so much about our next generations, and that's my mind frame with this. The one thing I find really ironic is I've sat in a couple meetings lately as I'm just learning codes and policies and things that other people are really concerned about. And it's just so ironic to me that, there's different codes in Duluth and over here on the Red River that are really activated to protect our waters. Yet it's just so different when it comes to Line 3. And so I'm really trying to dig in and become more knowledgeable and asking a lot of questions about, what are the water codes all over this entire state? And why do some apply differently in the Duluth area? Why are some applied differently here? Why are some applied differently in other places? At the end of the day, people want clean water, especially in Minnesota. It's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, even outside of just our Indigenous population on sovereign lands. It's something that our entire state likes to pride themselves off of. And so for me, I'm just trying to learn. I am newly elected. It's something that I just really want to be able to be a voice. And so I will show up. But more than that, one of the things I did with Standing Rock is I couldn't spend a lot of time there because, again, I had obligations in my community. But we did community outreach. We gathered wood so that people could stay warm. We had blankets, we had hats, we made tie blankets, and we were just continuously sending things out to the people who were our protectors, because it really is about community. Some people can't go. And I know that when Henry and I spoke, when we decided that we were going to try to come out rather quickly, we got hand warmers and foot warmers and really tried to bring those things out to gift people with too. And so I think for anybody out there that's feeling like they don't know what to do, sometimes just sharing the news and sharing the word and sharing some educational pieces in your community is how these bigger conversations get started. But also, activate some sort of opportunity to give, to support the people who are on those front lines. I really go back to this community mentality that we're all here to protect each other as we protect the water together. And so even if you can't go out, multiple times, at least try and make some blankets or see if you have some things, because more people will be showing up. I really believe this is just the beginning of a movement, and we're going to see a lot of people. But yeah, Winona, I do want to come out. We'll be in touch. I appreciate you being understanding, with Friday, but I'll be there. So thanks for having me. Sorry I'm late. I won't be able to stay on because I got a lot of other stuff going on, but it was fun to see the lives, Robert. I'm glad you were there. I appreciate utilizing social media right now to really share the message. I think that's really powerful. But how do we do that in a much bigger capacity? I think Indigenous people really get it, and people who are really woke to our needs and our priorities and our sovereign nations get it. But how do we do this on a next level to really kind of activate more people across this entire state and hold people accountable? I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. I'm just really disappointed in our governor. There's a lot of things that I appreciate about what he's done. This is one thing that I do not appreciate. I don't appreciate that during his campaign, he really, out of the side of one mouth, he's saying that he really cares about, our relationships, really our sovereign relationships and our water, and then actions didn't really fall through with that. So that's where I'm at. Thank you, Pilame. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah, I know you have a lot going on and move in the things that you're doing. So I really appreciate you coming on, Heather. It means a lot to us. Everybody watching this, it's huge, and we love you and we support you. And thank you so much for being on. What I want to do really quick is I want to talk to, I guess I could say my protege, but also who's producing this show right now is Oglama, and she has a cool shirt on too, and she happened to make it up to Winona's camp too, and I'd like some insight from Emma. Welcome. You're on mute. Look it, I got a cup.
Oh, I love it.
I brought him that cup. And it's so funny that the first time he gets to use it, it's me. I should know better. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. I know it's been a while since I've had my face up here and kind of spoke on Native Roots Radio. I've been doing a lot of stuff in the background. All of these fun comments and things that you see popping up are me. So I appreciate everybody who comments on our shows and that I get to put those up on the show.
Let's see your shirt.
That's really a lot of fun. Yes, I'm rocking the best shirt that I have in my t-shirt collection, literally the best one. So that's great too. I did get a chance to go up and visit the camp this weekend in Palisade, Minnesota. I live in central Minnesota, so it was actually a pretty close drive for me, which just kind of makes it all the more real. So there's a lot of people in my community, just a little more than an hour away from Palisade, that don't actually have any idea that Line 3 is happening or what it is, unless they happen to know me, because I talk about it all the time. But we need to get more people in Minnesota, not just the Native community, but more people in Minnesota aware of what's happening. That's where those letters to the editor comes in. That's where contacting your representatives comes in. Everyone in Minnesota stands to be negatively affected by what's happening right now. This pipeline crosses the Mississippi River twice. The last that I heard, you're not supposed to eat fish out of the Mississippi River already, depending on where on it you live, because there's already a pollution issue in the Mississippi River. Crossing a pipeline underneath it twice is not a solution for that. This pipeline is not a solution for anything other than to line the pockets of Enbridge. And that's it. Minnesota, as a state, is taking on a major risk with this pipeline. Enbridge is putting up the money to make a new route for this pipeline. But they hired out-of-state workers and broke their promise that this was going to bring jobs. They've hired in about 4,000 out-of-state workers. And when I was at that camp today, I saw 2 Minnesota plates out of about almost 20 vehicles. There were plates coming in from all kinds of states. These are people who are coming into our state during a pandemic. These are people who, they're not from here. They're not part of your community. They don't care what they're doing while they're here. Clearly, if they're coming down and sawing these trees down and putting in this pipeline, I can't imagine that they care about your community when they're using your gas stations or staying in the hotels in your area or anything else that they may or may not do. We already know man camps of this capacity are coming, and they are a problem for communities. And MMIW and MMIR is a big issue for Native people. But other people in Minnesota, those of you who are not Native, I'm looking at you, man camps are going to affect your families too. I don't think they're going to discriminate when these man camps come into your communities. So keep that in mind, that you're going to have a lot of people in your area. You may already have a lot of people in your area, like Gayleen. You've got children now you need to keep a closer eye on. You've got women in your community now where it may be not safe for them to walk alone. You've got more people there to spread COVID than you've ever had before, and Minnesota is not looking good for numbers. This is not something that you can turn a blind eye to.
Oh.
So anybody who's watching this right now, get into a public space, get into your newspaper, get out on the street, get a blowhorn, bullhorn, get whatever you can, and make people around you aware of what's happening. It's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to benefit anyone in Minnesota. And I'll tell you from the bottom of my heart, it was painful to be there when I was there. They have these giant machines as wide across as I do that come and just saw the tops off the trees and rip them out of the ground. And they don't care. They don't care at all that those trees have been there for how many hundreds of years. In fact, one of the Aiken County sheriff's officers that were there was trying to look at that forest line, and he said, oh, well, it'll grow back pretty quickly. It won't. That's not how trees work. I don't know where he got his education, but that's not how trees work. These are trees that have been there longer than any of us have been alive, and every single one of them matters. And I left the camp. I drove alone, and I left the camp in tears, and I had pains that I don't normally have. I had physical pains in my shoulders, on this side specifically, and running into my back. Physical pain that was rendered by the emotion of being there, of seeing everything that's being destroyed. And it's not just the area where they're putting down the pipeline. Like Tasha was saying, there are places all over Minnesota now where they're already laying that down. There are yards storing piles of their equipment all over Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Wherever you are in Minnesota, there is a very good chance that you are within a couple of hours from where the pipeline is going to be, where there's a yard where they're storing equipment, or where they have already started construction. It is not that hard to get in your car and show up. We need you to show up for Minnesota, for treaties, for everybody. Get in your car and go.
Hey, former House Representative Mary Kunich, we had a conversation about that too, how beautiful ride it was, and then but how disturbing everything was. We were right in there watching with Winona on Friday.
Yeah, it was a very visceral, as I said, very painful thing to witness, and to know that the flora and the fauna that have been there quietly living the life that they live as their natural life was being destroyed in a blink of an eye. It was pretty horrific. I think about when we have hurricanes and tornadoes, and when big trees are blown down, or a whole swath of trees and buildings will be destroyed, and we're horrified, and we call it trauma and a tragedy. And yet this is a tragedy that is man-made. It is man-made by a company not of Minnesota. It is a tragedy that is never and has not been necessary. That original Line 3 went through Minnesota, and unfortunately, Enbridge was not a good steward. They were not a good neighbor to Minnesota. They allowed those pipes to decay. They allowed those pipes to leak and crack. When they ran them through the waterways, and the water would wash them and expose them, they weren't there to make sure that they were not exposed to the elements to the point where they might crack. And it was while we were up there the other day, somebody was telling me that some of those pipes have been sitting there for 6 years. 6 years in the elements, in the sun and the rain and the snow and the cold. There's nothing that's infallible when it comes to man-made objects such as those pipelines. So they just sort of roll them around and repaint them and make them look shiny and new. And those are the pipe pieces that they're going to be putting into the ground. All those pipes that have already been compromised, probably in some way. And so it is important that folks come out. It's important that they contact their legislators and their community leaders, all the way down to your city council, to your mayors, to your county commissioners, to your state representatives, to your state senators, to our federal as well. And don't forget the governor. Just inundate them with your messages, and every day let them know that this is not acceptable, that won't accept it, that we resist it. And it's hard sometimes to stick your neck out. It's hard sometimes to go against the grain of who we think are leaders in our communities. But I think it's really important that we speak our truth. And it's not always easy. We call it courageous conversations. And I think it really is important that we share the information that we have, the information, the feelings that we have, and have those courageous conversations with people that just don't understand.
Thank you. Winona, one of the things that really blew me away, and it's kind of what Mary just touched on there, was that these pipes have been up there for a long time. And now they're just trying to, paint them up and talk a little bit about that, because they've been out there a long time. What happens to pipes? What happens to them, Winona? Could you speak on that? Wait, I got this cup for you. Yeah, you're on mute.
Very funny. So I have been giving these tours, and I encourage others to take these tours. I'll attach the article about the different colors. If you go to Pipe Yard, you see 3 different colors of pipe. Some are white, some are green, and some are brown. That's because they keep getting repainted because they have been there so long with a special coating that makes it a non-corrosive. And that's part of the problem, is that these are already old pipes. They've been sitting here for 5 years because Enbridge filled our state with pipes a long time ago. And so those pipes is what they put in South Dakota. Those are the ones that went and leaked out there in South Dakota, 383,000 gallons, And so I feel like that's going to happen in Aiken County. And that's what I don't like. It's not right to do to Aiken County to dump 383,000 gallons, out there. So I encourage people to go take a good look at where these pipe yards are, know what's coming into our state, and know exactly how abusive this corporation is. I mean, it's a shame that a Canadian multinational corporation has so much influence. Largest energy consumer in the state of Minnesota. Why are we making power to move sludge? So many crazy decisions made by this corporation. And then last, I just want to report, I took a call from my tribal historic preservation officer, who was told by the Aiken County Sheriff that if she came out and went onto the site, that she would be arrested as well. And so if she went out to the lodge, she would be arrested. What we need is the state to say that tribal people, can in fact go out there to our lodge, and a tribal historic preservation officer should not be arrested to going out to a cultural site for her tribe. That's ridiculous. And the state historic preservation officer needs to protect the tribal historic preservation officer from imminent arrest.
Absolutely. Hey, Nancy, do you have a few words that you could share with us right now? I just feel like, I don't know. I'm just besides myself, Nancy. It's an amazing predicament we're in. Could you share a little bit with us?
Right. What we need is our Ogechi Da, our Ogechi Da Kwe in the ribbon skirts, our women in their skirts. That's our power. We need drums. We need, our spiritual leaders and our people to start showing up and, reminding Governor Walsey does have a treaty responsibility, or actually obligation, because not everybody wants to be responsible, but it is an obligation. And I think he owes us a conversation, especially to White Earth and Red Lake. So I think the more our people show up, I think the more awareness we'll bring to it. And, along with our allies, that our non-native allies have to remind themselves, or maybe educate themselves, that they too are treaty people, and they have a responsibility under those treaties to be a good neighbor and a good steward of the earth. And, I was looking up quasi-sovereign earlier and the Indian Reorganization Act, and it's just the way the whole system is set up is to deny us our voice. And we have to dismantle the way the Indian Reorganization Act, because if you look at quasi-sovereign, basically is like the bigger government, the United States government, have more say than we do. We don't have total control of what we want to do. And even though that we can be autonomous, we have to ask for permission. And how does that happen when we are treaty people? And if you look at their constitution, treaties are supreme law of the land, but yet Enbridge, who is a non-governing body, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, non-governing body, think they can dishonor these treaties because they have so much money. And what the sheriff told us last on Friday, he said this ain't between us. This is between you guys and the federal government. Well, if you're living on this land, you're a treaty beneficiary, and it's an individual obligation to be a good neighbor and to be a good steward of the earth. And so what we need to start educating, and maybe that's where some of our senators and our House reps can help, is that this is not just between the United States and the federal government and the tribes. All these governments, the local, state, and federal, should be all upholding those treaty obligations, and we shouldn't have to, as individuals, fight for our fishing rights in the Supreme Court. We shouldn't have to have our land up for grabs when big oil comes through, because you know what? When we say we're sovereign, we are sovereign. We're not quasi-sovereign. That came when the Indian Reorganization Act and our governing bodies, like the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, the Tribal Executive Committee, those are bodies of the United States government. But you know what? The people are the tribe. We don't get our under our Minnesota Chippewa Tribe. We have articles and we got resolutions and we got all that stuff. And we are the people. The people are the tribe, and we have rights under the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe. We have a referendum vote that never takes place. And even with the regards to Enbridge, we, the people, should have decided that, not 5 elected officials. And sometimes those people aren't even on our side. We see that more often than not. And that's where the lateral oppression, further oppresses my voice as an individual, because we want clean water. We go out and we take action, and some of us lose our jobs. We lose our services. And so it makes fighting even more difficult. But, sometimes you just got to learn to live without and just keep fighting and keep showing up. And so people ask me, how do I make a stand? Show up. And sometimes you have to face your fears, and when I went to Standing Rock, I was scared, I said. But once I got to that front line, there was so much collective power. It was like, again, Robert, when we stand together, we don't stand alone. And that there's some truth to that. And you'll know that when you come visit us in Palisade tomorrow with your hand drums and your skirts.
Pinagigi. Hey, Henry, you've been listening a while here. Give us your thoughts, brother. I know you were at Standing Rock. Talk your truth, bro.
Hey, no, I wasn't at No Dapple. I'm from Standing Rock. I wasn't able to be out there. Big regret of mine. But I've been very active in almost every movement in this region, in the up north, the deep north, as you call it. I call it the up north. But listening to everybody and everybody's perspective, like we're all on the same plane, right? But there's different perspectives, and it's great to have this diversity. I thank you for allowing me to be on here, because I believe that I bring a different perspective too, and I understand from my my lived experience and my knowledge of learning about history of activism, the history of our people, but mainly activism, right? So we do need to have the political side covered. We do need to put pressure on the political figures, because they are public figures. I've had conversations, many conversations about that. We got to hold our public figures accountable in public, not in private. We want to make sure that their accomplishments are made aware of in public, and yeah, let's clap for them and let's give them grace. But then when they don't lead or they outright lie to the people, us, that it shouldn't be broadcasted live. I totally disagree. I say as a people, as a tribal people, that's how we dealt with things. We didn't have politicians. We had, the people that we lived around, and if the chief of that tribe had issues in that society, it was made public right away and dealt with right away. That's the difference of what we're living in today. Um, I agree with the the leg or the lane that we need to fill with addressing the governor, and every other politician or perceived leader uh, in this fight. But um, I stand on it comes from the people. The people, the power is in the people. The numbers, we only have really recognized that when things happen in this instance. You bring up No Dabble. It was the numbers, it was the people, it was the love, it was the tribal love, the cultural love. You know what I mean? That sharing of feelings, of energy. It was an energy type of deal, and that's where it really lies. Regardless if they still laid the pipe and is still pumping right now. This is a fight of a generation. This is not going to get settled overnight. This is not going to happen or die overnight. We understand that now, that this is a generational fight, and we are only a small part of that. And I stand with Nancy that we have to get over our fears. Every time I step out into a protest, every time I'm asked to speak, or I'm like I'm expected to speak now because I put myself in these positions, that we need to get over that fear. We got to face it, because it is an illusion. That fear is an illusion. As soon as you get into it, you got to transform that energy and make sure that that energy is in the right place. And that's where our cultural side of us comes in as a people, that we need to regulate that. And I just want to say that, uh, definitely I stand with everybody here, and we gonna make it happen, man.
Yeah, Pinagigi. I stole the Deep North from Winona. Winona came up with that, and she talks about that on our radio show every week. Winona, the Deep North. What the heck? What the heck? Well, wait.
There's a lot of good people up here too.
That's
There's a lot of there's a lot of scared people. There's a lot of people that drank too much Kool-Aid and feel kind of guilty about it. There's a lot of people who, just think other people should be in charge of things, or just got used to other people being in charge. But like, in what right mind, we all talk about freedom, but in what right mind should we let a bunch of corporations come up with a plan for our future? That don't make any sense. We're the ones that should come up with our plan, our good hearts and minds, put it together, and people are doing it. It's just you get these big mega projects, like I said. I'm just really appreciative of everybody's support. Come to Palisade, we'll be here. And then there's other places on the line too that people are going to start, really trying to bring attention to. Park Rapids looks crazy. Bacchus looks crazy. But for now, come to Mississippi because we're here. And just thank you and pray. My bail. Hopefully my bail is not high.
Well, Heather, I know you need to get going soon. Do you have any last words before you have to go? I want to make sure I have you speak before you go, Heather. I know you're a busy person and you're in the middle of some stuff, so you mind speaking some truth? I mean, you are an awesome speaker, so and you have a great shirt too on.
Yeah, I love all of the shirts. I see like a trend in the shirt column over here. I mean, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's really doing the big work, you know, the day in, the day out work. Nancy, I see you. I think I was listening. Robert was at the show on Tuesday. You know, and it's like I hear your pain. I feel your pain, Winona. Like I want to do the very best that I can, you know, in the capacity that I have. And if that's, you know, if there's needs, if people, you know, as we start to set up, you know, more long-term camps and stuff, you know, let us know what we can do to help. But also, you know, I just say, hold me accountable on the work that I hope to do. You know, it's a system that I'm still learning. It's a system that I'm very much alone in, and I'm going to do my very best to step up and be a voice, you know, in the House, even if it's scary and I'm alone and I'm still learning. But one of the things I am doing is really trying to educate the other legislators. You know, it's really interesting to me that I sat in like an all-day retreat with senators and representatives, and so many people just don't understand treaties. And I saw it come across on the bottom. I think Misty mentioned that, you know, we have to do better in our education systems to talk about this. Like, there's just so much that we don't talk about. We have to protect our youth. We have to talk about the fact that, you know, when man camps come to our communities, it affects everybody, and really talk about that. I feel like we just don't talk about the whole capacity of what this creates in our communities and our youth and our, you know, our next generations as a whole. So I just really hope to do that. Thank you all for everything. I'm so glad that Henry's here. He's one of my very best friends. And so he is like this true activist, and he shows up and he just rattles things up. And I always appreciate that about him. Nancy, keep up the work. Winona, keep up the great work. Mary, as always, I really appreciate you. And Robert, thank you for having me. Audrey, you always make me laugh. You know, in times that sometimes get really difficult, it's nice to be able, you know, I feel like there's that native humor in getting through some of the painful stuff. But I appreciate you all. I do need to go. Pilame, have a great night, and we'll see you all.
Don't forget to talk
probably
about
on
your
Wednesday
show.
night. Yeah, so I have a show together with Heather Wednesday night, 7:30 to 8:30. It's really just talking about a lot of big things, but also I want to pitch my mug. Check this bad boy out. So we talk about leaderships, and we talk about like what happens when we get at the bigger tables. And I really believe having, you know, the number 4 is so powerful for us, and the fact that we have 4 Indigenous women in leadership roles in our state this year, I really feel that there's some sort of power in that. So I'm total cheesy, and so I made mugs just to like carry on that spirit and make sure that we're drinking our tea out of these powerful mugs. But I appreciate you all. Wednesday night together with Heather. It'll be fun because we're actually talking about being a female in campaigning and talking to female candidates and campaign managers, and kind of the different struggles that we go through as female candidates, especially minority female candidates in the world. So join me. Thank you.
All right, cool. So, Gayleen, do you mind speaking up a little bit here? It looks like we lost Winona for a few minutes here, or maybe she thought the show was ending. I'm not sure.
Robert, I need to
You
go.
want to say a last word here then?
I need to say last words, or there will not be anything healthy here. I got to get off. But one of the things I need to say, and I heard you know, Henry really clear, but I want, you know, and I during my campaign I talked a lot because there were so many activists that were with me. Activism and activists move legislators by their actions, you know, and you keep them honest, you know. And so as Heather and I, who are new, we are going to be out there educating and doing our best, but we also need to hear from our activists, because without that voice, then it isn't get moved. It doesn't make the issue. So I want to thank everybody tonight, and Mary, I can't wait. Are everybody that's on here? Thank you so much, and I hope to see you all again. And thanks for the T-shirt, Robert, and good night.
Robert, you're on mute. Robert.
Wow, I don't know if I can repeat that. There was such great words that I just said. But how about if we go to Gayleen and give us an update and how she's feeling tonight?
So Robert, you made fun of people all night to unmute, and look who the circle came back to. You.
Yep.
What I've gleaned from this, and again, after spending a couple of days at the camp and seeing the reality of what is going on here, I'm going to say education. We got to start writing letters. We got to put articles in the paper. We got to blow up social media. People don't really know what's going on. They don't know the effects of what this will be after they're all gone. So if we're not able to stop this, we can at least educate people so that maybe we'll have a more force behind us, and it won't be all just us native folks that really want clean water, and we want our wild rice, and we want to grow a garden. Maybe that's what it's going to take to make a difference, but we have to blow it up. It's up to us, because there's so many uneducated people out there that really don't get it.
I agree totally. Senator, I want to say that soon. I know you're not sworn in yet, but Mary Kunesh, you speak your truth, please.
Thanks again. I had to run and get my T-shirt on with all the cool kids tonight. We talked about a lot of things here tonight. The consequences of this action against Enbridge, against our state. And a couple of the things that we haven't really mentioned is the number of these workers coming in from out of state at a time when COVID is at its all-time highest. Aiken County, they are at their all-time highest, both in cases of COVID as well as deaths in COVID. And Winona touched on the fact that there are 3 beds available, 3 like urgent care or emergency beds available in Aiken County. I was speaking with a nurse over in the Onamia hospital, and how worried, how concerned they are that there is going to be a spillover into their community as well, not only for those that are ill, but what are all these people, all these men going to be doing during this time while they're waiting to work, or like when we shut down the operation, they're sitting back in the hotels that are full, or the residences, the Airbnbs that they've been able to do. I mean, like, how long is that are they going to be able to, take sitting there looking at each other before they spill out into other communities? And that is a huge issue and concern across that county from people that I have heard. The other thing, that a number of people have spoken about, is the connection between pipelines and these kind of extraction businesses and the rise in violence in communities, especially against Native American women. And I know this because I carried the bill, and I am the chair of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force here in Minnesota. We have worked fervently and furiously for 1 year trying to put together a list of recommendations for our state against missing and murdered Indigenous women. It should have come out this past week. Interesting that it didn't, the week that Enbridge begins, but we're hoping to share that with the legislature and share that with the greater public. I think there are 12 recommendations that we have there. And yes, Enbridge was supposed to put all of their employees through cultural awareness, through violence awareness, especially around sex trafficking and violence against women. But we know that isn't always going to prevent any of that from happening. And that is a real concern. We don't have the data. We don't always have the numbers because, you know, those numbers were never kept. That data was not collected. It wasn't considered important information to collect, let alone share, let alone make public. But we know it's there, and we know because our communities have shared those situations both in Standing Rock and historically. Maybe we don't have something, you know, as strong as reporting in here in Minnesota, but the Indian Urban Health Coalition out on the West Coast has all kinds of information that proves this to be true. And so these are real concerns for community members. Just as our friend said, you know, if you have a sister or a girlfriend or a wife or a grandma or an aunt, and now you are saying, don't go anywhere, don't put yourself out there where people can see you or where you might be nabbed. This is really true. And we have heard those stories in the testimony. And so I would ask folks to please share the information that we are giving you, share the information that you're able to pull off of like Minnesota 350 and RISE, and have these conversations with your communities, because we are in this together. We want everybody to come out whole. We want everybody to come out live. We don't want Winona to have to spend all her money on bonds and all of those things. So let's do this together, but let's do it in a good way with a good heart.
Good words, good words. I'd like to wrap it up. We've had a really lot of good people here. I'm going to start a lot of people watching tonight, and I would like to give Tasha one of her last word of the night, and I'm going to go around, and then I'll go to Henry, and then I'll make you all guess who's going to be next. But you have the floor for your last words, please, young warrior.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tasia Martineau, and I'm from the Fond du Lac Reservation. I come from a community that is severely divided. Just today, here in this space, I seen a couple of my community members arguing, and I had to light some sage because it's just very emotional. And I do have something to say to Jason Goward, who is watching. I want you to know that I'm going to be out here. I'm going to continue fighting for the sacred. I'm going to continue defending our water sources. And it breaks my heart knowing that when I take the line, you're on one side and I'm on the other, but I'm out there every day fighting for my children and your children as well. Jason has 2 children, Jacob and Trevor, and those are my nephews. This is my community. And at this point, you know, like, there's really no job opportunities for Indigenous people. We either work for our casino or we work for the pipeline. And that's the reality of it. And I try really hard to move forward in a way that is good, in a way where I'm not, you know, shaming my people or being angry at my people, because I understand the level of violence and assimilation it took for people like Jason to have to work for these companies, the violence that it's taken for people to have to sit there and defend companies like this. It just breaks my heart. And I want you to remember that I'm out there for all of us, not just me, not just my children, but for all future 7 generations, because that's what we were taught as Anishinaabe people. We're taught to look forward to the next 7 generations. The world as it is now is not sustainable. With climate change being how it is, I can't even imagine a future for grandchildren. I'm out there every day fighting for the future of my own children. Like, I don't have the ability to look forward anymore unless I put myself on the line and unless I help stop Line 3. And we need more help. There's 300 miles of this pipeline. I need people to be willing to activate, agitate, organize, and stop this thing. All it takes is a few good people with a few good hearts, you know? And I want Jason to remember that, you know, when you're sitting at home and you're getting ready for work and I'm laying face down in the snow with the cuffs on because our tribal police are paid to stop me, I want you to remember why I'm there. I want you all to remember why we're out there, why Winona's out there, why GNU is out there, why we're fighting this fight. There's many ways that you can get involved. You can follow GNU on Facebook. You can follow Get Your Boonie Scouts. You can support Northfield Against Line 3. Just get involved in whatever capacity you can.
Peeny Gigi for being on, Young Warrior. Our heart's out with you, and that's what this show hopefully is all about, is that we're going to rally support and give updates during our radio shows, Nancy's show, my show, Emma's show, Heather's show, No Line 3. I'd like to go to Henry for some last words. Peeny Gigi, Young Warrior. And welcome, Henry, for your last words, please.
All right. It's very moving, what she just said there. The heart that is behind this, we all feel it. My last words would be to not only hold the people that are separate from our struggle, from the resistance, accountable, but we have to hold each other accountable. For everybody that's a guest on this show, each one of you have influence. So I am challenging you, each one of you, to get a hold of your nephews. We know that there are women warriors out here. We've seen it. We've seen it at Standing Rock. We've seen it. We see it here today. We see it every day. The women warriors come out, and every day I try to challenge the males, the warriors that need to come out here and stand with our women to protect our women. They are just as sacred as this Mother Earth. So I challenge, I ask every one of you strong warrior women to get a hold of your nephews, your uncles, every male, and individually. It may take some time, but that's what I do as an activist too. I activate, as I talk to a lot of people individually, and I put the pressure on them also, is that you need to come out here and you need to protect. You need to be that warrior. You can't just talk about being a warrior. You have to be it. You have to act. So please, if you can talk to your relatives and organize that and let them know what it is. And if you want them to get a hold of me, Facebook, Messenger, IG, I'm on every platform. So if they want to talk to me and we could situate something, but we need people there on the ground to help and support and protect Winona and every Nancy, Tara, everybody that's on the ground, man. These police are going to start with the pressure, and we've seen it. So we need to be there. We've seen it before. We've seen what happened at Standing Rock. So we have to be there. Thank you.
Wow, Peeny Gigi, really, that's yes, that's words we need to hear. We need our men on here. Many times we only have women on this show, and I want to say, Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for being on, and I hope you have the capacity to join us again, Henry. Great words. I want to go to Gayleen here for a lot for her last words tonight, and then I'll go to Nancy after that.
I just want to affirm what Tasha was saying, is that we're in these communities that not everybody's on the same page. They don't see things the way we see things. They don't understand how much damage this could cause to, not to us, but to our grandchildren and thereafter. They need to look at the damage that it's going to cause long term, because short term is all they can see. And we just need to get out there and keep talking to people. We need to keep writing letters. We need to participate. We need to be active. That's the only way we're going to make this movement to save our land, air, water, our environment. Our environment's at risk. It's on a noose right now. And if we don't move, it's not a good outcome. So I appreciate everyone and what they're doing, and I'm just really sad that this is happening in my community. But I'm glad that I've got that warrior out there, that Winona, because she's making things happen, and I'm gonna be there to do what I can.
Peony Gigi, again for coming on tonight. Great words and great truth. I want to go to my partner in crime on Tuesdays, Nancy Bolio of just the grooviest person around. Your last words, Nancy. Make them as long.
Right. Right. I'll keep it short and brief. But Robert, you just sent me a text message and wondering where my resist shirt is. I just texted you back and said I'm breaking that in tomorrow. So I got my ribbon skirt and my sage and all that stuff packed up, and I'm waiting for my sister Dawn to be up at early morning. So I'll get a few hours of sleep tonight. But back to what Henry was saying is men bring balance to our movement, and we need them to show up with their drums, and they're our fire keepers. Women are the water protectors. So so calling all of our courageous Ogichi-da to the front lines with us, and just also wanted to reflect a little bit on the again, I'm really disheartened with our governor right now, and it was really hypocritical on moving Enbridge forward on the same very day. I think he launched his advisory or his climate advisory council, something like that. And it's, it's almost like lip service again, just like that executive order. And, it means nothing. I want to pray for our sister, Peggy Flanagan, in the position she's put in. And I'm sure, in this next few days, people will be reaching out to her. And I want to just say that, I respect her, and I thank her for anything moving forward. But I ask the governor to respect his relationship with Ms. Flanagan, and she's more than his campaign win. She's our voice, and maybe for him, for the moment, it was, if I have me a Native American, I can win this, because we do show up when we have a relative running. And, and that should mean something. It should really mean something more than a little flimsy vote from us and then forget who we are. Because you know what? We're still here, Mr. Waltz. And you need to honor our sister. You need to respect her for everything she's worth, because she's our voice. And I also want to say that we need to pray for, all of our relatives, our two-spirited people, our children, and hold them close, because not just our women go missing. It's our relatives, all of them. So we ask that you guys show up in the next few weeks and prepare yourselves to be COVID safe and warm. And there are some ways we can help. We just reach out to, us at Rise Coalition, MN 350, Gichigami Scouts, Honor the Earth, Stop13.org, and Guinea Collective. We're finding ways for some of our relatives who might have difficulty to help support that. But you know what? There's a lot of great funders out there, people, who can't be there, that can send the money to help buy the warm clothing and some of the food that might be needed. But again, remember, it's COVID, and show up prepared to make a stand in a healthy way where we can protect each other. So never let your guard down. And Robert, I'll break in that shirt tomorrow and I'll send you a selfie. Resist like no other, everybody. Resist.
Good one. Ahu, Pinigigi. Nancy and I do a show at 2:00 on Tuesdays. It was called Rock the Vote Native Style, and now it's Rock the Treaties Native Style. And we'll be morphing that in next month. So it's exciting. I want to go to Oglama and then State Senator-elect Mary Kunish to end us out. So go ahead, Oglama. Pinigigi for all you're doing here.
Yes, thank you, Miigwech, everybody who tuned in tonight and who's watching. Miigwech for everybody who's taking action right now, in whatever capacity you're taking action. I do just want to echo, we need people to show up. Bring yourself there, bring yourself COVID prepared and dressed warmly. This is Minnesota after all. And if you can't come, make sure to get involved in your community and to speak out in as many public places as possible to talk about Line 3. Again, miigwech everybody, and keep your prayers up.
Wow, Pinigigi, and thank you for all the work you do for Native Roots Radio Network and all the work you just do, Oglama. I want to go to Mary Kunish to end the show here, and then I'll have a few words. Mary Kunish. Who?
Well, Robert, and to all of you that are here and listening tonight and are trying to figure out how you can participate in this resistance, because, you know, just as one of our sisters mentioned, the women are the water carriers, we're the water protectors. We're all connected with the water from the moment of our conception. We are surrounded by the waters in our mother's wombs. And, you know, and you learn in history or in science how our bodies are mostly water, both that fresh and that salt. And those waters in our body mirror the waters of our earth. And the Nibi, those are the sacred waters, and those are our most sacred connection with our divine, with our past, and with our present, and with our future. Because as we all know, water is life. And in this instance, we are basically fighting for life. Life of the earth, life of each other, and life of the next 7 generations. And so once again, thank you, Robert, for providing this platform. So appreciate being here with all of these wonderful folks that are willing to come out and walk the talk, and appreciate the fact that I can be a part of this. So very much Wapala Tonka to all.
Pinigigi Mary, thank you so much. Mary's been on. She's one of the originals. We've been doing this since COVID, and it's just gotten better and better. And I really appreciate all the work Mary does and everything that everybody here does tonight. I want to give a special shout out for Oglama for running things in the background. As you see, all the stuff that's going on here in the switching. This has just been a great show. I want to give a shout out to Winona LaDuke for starting out our show. For Heather Keeler for stopping in. Also, if you want to support us, we're on Patreon, Native Roots Radio Network. And also, I just want to say, we need to resist, divest, join a group, and run for office. You've been listening to the Sunday Symposium. We're still here. Good night, everyone.
Welcome to the Sunday Symposium. We're still here. Presented by Native Roots Radio Network. This is a Native conversation of where we've been and where we're going.